Go.
Good evening, class. Sorry I couldn't join you tonight, but I figured this would be the next best option. Tonight we're going to talk about school of conditioning and training of thought. So the first question on your handout would be, what does training of thought mean? Well, training of thought means to develop your curiosity and suggestions while creating new habits of exploring new ideas and testing ideas and skills. There are three different influences that factor into thought training. The first one would be habits and attitude of the teacher, subjects being taught, and the third is the established results that are expected during learning and education. Looking at the first factor, attitude and thinking habits of the teacher, most of the time teachers will demonstrate their personality through their teaching. So a lot of times students will try to imitate their teachers and therefore don't really grasp the learning concepts. They just try to do what would make the teacher happy. Teachers also will make judgments of their students on how they learn because of their thinking and their learning skills. Teachers will encourage students to have similar thinking skills, and they sometimes will tend to disengage with learners that have different thinking skills than they do. The subject that's being taught. A lot of times teachers will rely on their personality because it makes the subject that they're teaching more interesting. So think about when you were in history class or math class when that subject was super boring and you were ready to fall asleep. Usually your teacher did something that got you engaged, made you more interested in the subject, and you really didn't realize that as much as you loved the teacher, you really weren't learning that much in that subject. So that's a negative effect. When you're in these situations, the teachers need to provide an environment that encourages the students to ask, will this be the correct answer, or is this the right way of doing things, instead of looking to please their teacher and asking themselves, will this make my teacher happy? There are several different learning styles. The first learning style is acquisition of skill. So this refers to art, reading, music, and writing. During acquisition of skill, teachers or students are suggested to take the shortest possible route. They want to get the quickest results as fast as possible. It becomes a robotic routine, and usually teachers will point out students or learners' mistakes and help them correct them. The next style is acquiring knowledge. This is when you're talking about history and math. These types of subjects or this type of learning makes the students or the learners walking textbooks. This means they take as much information as possible, cram it in there, and then are expected to store it away and have it recalled whenever possible. So a lot of memorization is used in this type of learning style. The last learning style is abstract thinking. This would be math and formal writing. A lot of times people will isolate themselves because they get so focused on these tasks. There's also a blurred line between actuality and logic when you're dealing with these types of learning styles. So there are established and expected results. Think of it just like you would when you're thinking of a student and a teacher. You know, there's tests at the end of the year that students are expected to pass in order for them to prove that they have learned or they've gained knowledge, that they've learned to think on these subjects for themselves. So the teachers tend to become too focused on the end result, and that way things are now becoming secondary learning. They're not learning to think for themselves, they're learning to recall information. So in order for this to be corrected, teachers need to focus on steps to follow to reach the answer or a rational conclusion as an end result instead of just shoving information into people's faces. Also, another way to help improve these skills is to view learners as individuals and improve their thinking process. So in conclusion, teachers are encouraged to develop methods that are restricted and technical that will direct students or learners to achieve results while also being mindful of the environment and the learning atmosphere that they are providing for their students.